Yo, JD here, to Limits, and as you can see we're at Bahrain, AOR, round 3, and I haven't done a qualifying lap here today because unfortunately I actually not lagged out, but my Xbox actually froze in qualifying. So that means I'm going to be starting at the back, and it wasn't only me, it was actually Broziak, and I believe it was Cairo Lockdown as well, so starting from 13th in this race, not near the front this time, so it should be pretty good, and lights out, and away we go. And right now my strategy is just to be, as always, as aggressive as possible, obviously in the most fair way as well, but trying to get through the pack as quick as possible because Broziak, who's my main rival in the championship at the moment, which I believe he's actually starting on prime, so we really need to make him advantage. And so far I've actually made up 3 places at the start, so pretty perfect first corner, just being aggressive but just picking off people as they run into each other a bit. And right now you just got to pick your move. Right now that's what I'm thinking, you just need to pick your spot, commit to the move 100% rather than do half measures kind of move, as I said in my previous video. And right now everyone's just holding each other up a bit, and yeah, we just go bang down the inside there, just inside of Jambo and Maisie, and at the moment it's actually 3 abreast going into this corner, but I've got the slight better traction, and luckily my teammate Maisie backs out and we've got the inside for the left. So 13th to 7th, 6 places on within the first half of lap is a pretty good start, and the leaders are not exactly that far away. I think it's Leobot in the lead at the moment and Rosberg, so they're pretty quick guys, so we just got to make the most of this and move through the pack as quick as possible. But so far so good. And Broziak, as I said, he's starting on the prime tyres, so the primes are literally about between the prime and option tyres around here. It seems about 1.5 seconds or more in a lap actually, and the durability seems to be pretty similar as well. So he may be struggling in his first stint, but I'm pretty aware that he's going to be pretty strong towards the end of the race. So right now we just got to focus on guys ahead, try not to do a move that will just blow up our wing or cause us to spin out with a side pole glitch in this game. We just got to pick our spot and then just go for it. And right now it looks like Jason's just run to the back of Montoya a bit, and hopefully we can take advantage of this, and we've just gone right outside of him, so that's another place done. And the leaders, as I said, they're just not that far, and Montoya breaks pretty early there, but right now we're just getting into the rhythm of the race, but I didn't really have a chance to settle in because I started near the back and I didn't have qualifying at all. I think I did 1 lap where I was on provisional pole, but Rosberg would have beaten my lap anyway. But yeah, I was pretty gutted when I actually had my Xbox froze because I thought my rivals would be near the front, but it seemed that quite a few other people had the same issue as well, so that could be to do with the game, maybe the host, but who knows. Shit happens and you just gotta keep your composure and just get on with it, and that's my main advice really when something like that happens to you. There's nothing you can do, you can't reset the lobby, you can't do anything, you just gotta make the most of what's in front of you. And right now we're trying to make most of it with Montoya, and we're gonna dive down his inside for this right-hander, get on the curb a bit, but he gets a better exit, and we're side by side with him, and he's on the prime tyre, so he'll be struggling with traction in his first stint. And if we can just keep it in the inside, just hold our line there, hold our racing line. He tries to turn in a bit, but we keep our line and put it into Rich Mix, and we'll go focus on 4th place, which is Tiro Minty. So making up 8 places in the first 3 laps is a really good start. I couldn't ask for anything more perfect, and we're defending a little bit from Montoya here. It's Minty since the fastest lap of the race, and we keep that position. So right now I'm feeling pretty confident for the race, to be honest. My pace seems really good. I've settled into the race pretty nicely. I'm not really making that many mistakes. I'm quite consistent. As you can see, we've definitely got the pace at the moment because we're actually going purple, and we've actually caught up the leading group within the lap. So our pace is pretty good, which I'm pretty surprised with as well, because Bahrain is not really a good track for me in terms of pace. But as we can see, Living Dead and Minty going for a bit of a battle, and right now I'm just trying to get the best exit possible for this last corner to try and possibly even get both of them down the straight, because Minty hasn't got DRS. Living Dead goes pretty defensive, pretty aggressive here, but that's not really going to fry me off. I'm going to try and hold it down his inside, so I've got the racing line and just outbrake him into that first corner, and I think the move's done. Yep, and the move's done. So our next target is fellow Tiro member, Tiro Minty, who's no mean feat of getting past, and we just skip ahead forwards into a lap. And this left-hander is an absolute nightmare corner for me. I'm so cautious going through there, as I was with last season as well. As I said, this track isn't really a great track for me in qualifying. I wasn't expecting to be in the top 3 anyway, but my main aim going into this, and as I said last race, is literally just be as consistent as possible, and if I can just pump in those consistent times, then see where I end up. And right now I've seemed to just stepped up a gear at the moment. I seem to have pretty good pace, and I'm catching the people in front of me pretty quickly, and I'm really quite surprised myself because I didn't feel practice went that well for this track. I felt I was quite inconsistent at times, but the race pace again seemed to be pretty good, as I meant to put up and Rich there first time, but we selected Prime. And let's see if we can get Minty down straight. I don't go into 8th gear because it's not really necessary, because as you can see I'm still going up in speed. Put it down to 2nd gear, and that's the move done. So we're into a podium position here after 6 laps, which is pretty good. So my confidence is feeling pretty nice at the moment. I feel like I'm driving this is probably the best race I've driven this season so far, in terms of just the natural flow and just getting to the rhythm of it. And as you can see, within another lap again, we just caught up to the front 2, which is Leobot and Franglish. Franglish being the GP2 champion from last season, last game, so he's not exactly a guy you want to take lightly. He's a pretty quick guy, and so is Leobot as well. So got Minty behind me, keeping me for company. And right now the tyres are slowly starting to get off, and as you can see here, we're just gaining on the leaders corner by corner. Just the pace just seems pretty good as I go out a bit to the middle of the track there, just to try and make him a bit nervous for this last corner. And right now I just need to focus on those braking points, nailing those apexes to try and get the best possible exit. And right now we're getting a DRS in rich mix, and as you can see, a bit of swerving on the track there. And right now I was thinking of going just behind, but then at the last minute I thought, I'll just ease off the brakes a bit. Frangish luckily gives me a bit of room there, and we've gone into 2nd place now. He's a little bit oversteer there, so Frangish could come back at us quite badly. And as you can see in the mirror, he's coming back at us, but he's staying behind. But he actually pulls out last minute, so we leave him a little bit of room on the entry just in case, make a slight bit of contact there. That could have come off a hell of a lot worse than what it did, but luckily, touch wood in this case, it worked out quite well. And our next target is the race leader, Leobot, 1.1 seconds behind. So things are looking pretty good at the moment, and right now all I've got to do is just focus on just nailing those apexes and predict Leobot will probably come in this lap, because it looks like his tyres are going quite a bit, and our tyres seem to be going quite well, because I've actually been saving a bit of fuel when I've been behind people in the twisted sections of the track. I've been going in lean mix, so I hope my tyre wear doesn't seem that bad and just seem to have really good pace. But right now I'm just thinking, if he pits this lap, I just want to try and get in his DRS, because if I can get that, that will just help me on the next lap and the in lap to just gain that little bit more speed as well. And you can see now my tyres are starting to go off just a little bit there and going to rich mix, so hopefully we can stay with him, get in that DRS zone, and I'm be pretty surprised if he doesn't go in the pits here. And yes, he does go in the pits, so we're going to put it into rich mix, and hopefully sometime, or most of the time in this game, you actually get an as you could call it, an overcut. If you've never used that word before, we actually get an overcut on the people who pit early, because since I've been going on the primes, we actually get more of an advantage. But around this track there should be going options. So coming into the pits on lap 9, we've got a nice little lead, and I'm quite close to the wall there, a lot closer than I would have liked to have been. And we're going to lean mix, and I'm meant to be selecting option tyres, but I've actually selected the prime twice, and now we select options. So that could have been a pretty big disaster there if I selected the primes, because as I said before, prime tyres are about 1.5 seconds and over slower difference than the option tyre. It's absolutely crazy, and this track just seems to be a lot worse than other tracks. But Leobot comes past, so he's gone the options again, so he's actually got a bit of an undercut on us, or the gap stayed pretty much the same. But just nailing our pit entry or pit exit, and hopefully get on to him as quick as possible. So lap 10 now, we're still behind Leobot. We've got Minty right behind us, and in practice he was pretty quick. Like, when he was behind me, I couldn't really shake him off and break his DRS, so he's a contender for this race as well. And as I'm doing this, as we run a little bit wide there, just getting to the rhythm of these tyres again, I was always thinking of Broziak, because he started on the prime tyre, so that means he'll be doing 2 option stints for the rest of his race. And as I said, that advantage, even if I have quite a big lead in him, you shouldn't really take it lightly, because the option tyres are rapid, and we all know how quick he is as well. So I was asking in game chat whereabouts he was, and apparently at this point he was about 7th place or something, so we've got a little bit of a lead in him at the moment. And right now I'm just not relaxing. I'm pushing absolutely as hard as I can because I know every single second counts, and I just want to get past Leobot as quick as possible, who is the net race leader at this point. And he's doing a pretty good job. He's a pretty quick guy. He was quick on last season. He's pretty aggressive, so I've got to pick my move pretty nicely, pretty committed, not trying to do a half move up the inside because that could end up quite badly. But right now, just trying to save our tyres. And luckily we've got a lap fresher tyres in Leobot and Minty behind us, so if we can get past him, then it's looking pretty good for the race. I won the previous 2 rounds, so 2 out of 2 so far, and looking to make it 3 out of 3, which would be an amazing thing, because as I said, this track doesn't really, it's not a bad track for me, but I say it's a pretty average track in terms of pace. But as I said, the pace here at the moment just seems to be really good. The setup I'm using, which I've used in my setup video, you can see that if you search my channel, it just seems to suit it really, really well around here. And as you can see, Leobot, I'm pretty sure he was going to lead mix there. I don't want to overtake him before the last corner, because that means he'll get DRS. So going to rich mix, getting the slipstream, DRS, and this should be a pretty simple pass. As you can see, I'm not going to go into 8th gear because I don't think it's really that necessary. And break a little bit layers just so we can secure that first position, and we're into first place. So in 12 laps, from 13th to 1st in 12 laps is pretty good. And now we've got Minty right behind us as well, so you can't really relax at the moment. I'm feeling pretty confident for a race because my race pace is always usually faster than my quality pace, but yeah, we just gotta try and break him off, and I'm gonna try and break out of his DRS because I've got that pressure tyres. And as you can see in the mirror there, as you can see in this replay, Minty's actually got caught on the auto spin curb there, which is really, really unlucky for him. I've been caught on that a lot of times, and especially last season that happened to me as well. But that's pretty unlucky there, but not gonna lie, that's gonna make it a lot more comfortable for me leading this race, knowing that I don't have a Ferrari on my backside. And as you can see, the gap's opening out quite a bit between me and Leobot now, so it's just over a second, I'd say, and that's my main aim at the moment. It's just to try and keep it out of that DRS zone, because DRS is pretty powerful around here. You've got 2 DRS zones in middle straight and pit straight, and you could see how much speed I gained previously when I had the DRS. So gap is just over 1 second, so we just got to nail our traction that will come out of this, try and avoid the wheel spin as much as possible. And I'm still looking for Broziak. I think he's in about 5th place at the moment, so we've got a nice little lead in him at the moment, because I feel he'll be the biggest threat at the end of the race with the option tyres at the end. As I said, the primes aren't really that any more durable than what the options are, so there's no real benefit of being on the prime. It's actually just being slower, so I think that's why he chose it for the first stint, to see if he could get through the pack quickly. Then that strategy would have worked off pretty well, but luckily I managed to pick my spots, get through people quite quickly, and it's working out pretty nicely for me, not gonna lie. And we can just improve our lead by just a 10th in that sector. So we're just gonna, right now, we just gotta keep it consistent. We gotta push as hard as we can. You can't really relax, because if you start relaxing, then you just lose concentration. I feel, for me, pushing pretty much almost flat out as much as you can actually improves your consistency most times for me. But there's obviously times where you don't need to push as well. You do need to just focus on pushing about 8% consistency. But right now we're just eking out that gap, as Leobot's tyres I feel are going off quite a bit at the moment, and as you can see, we're being very consistent. We're within the same 10th within the last lap, so that's consistency for you. And it's a 2.3 second gap now, and let's see what this gap is, and we'll win a 10th again. So our consistency at the moment is next to none. It's pretty good, and this is probably one of the most solid drives I've actually done on F1 out of any game so far. My consistency has been really strong, and just the raw pace has been pretty surprising to me at the moment, as I believe Leobot has pitted this lap, and again we're pretty consistent up there. And as you can see, Leobot has pitted, Jason's still out behind me, and Broziak's still up behind. And as you can see in the map there, we've got quite a bit of a lead on them at the moment. So right now I'm thinking it's looking pretty good for the win. All I've got to do is just keep it consistent, and auto spin curves are quite a big danger around here, so just trying to keep off the curves as much as possible, just to help with the tyre wear as well. But it doesn't really matter now, because we're just about to come into the pits, I believe, as we do. Yep. and we just got to save fuel in the twisty sections of the track, and just looking at the race director there just to make sure what tyres are on. And luckily I select primes this time because this is what I need. If I did that last time, I think that could have cost me the race. But moving into the pits now, hopefully it's going to be a good pit stop, 3.7, which is just a standard pit stop, which is good. And luckily, since I'm in Caterham, I can't really get jumped, because since I'm at the end of the pit lane, as I was with Toro Rosso the season before, being in the middle of the pit lane and Red Bull being at the start, you can get jumped and held up quite badly. But luckily, my pit stops this year and connection's been pretty good, and I feel like I'm driving really well this season. I just feel like I'm driving up to my potential at the moment. As you can see, car lockdowns on the primes is staying out. He went out wide and came back on the track, and that could have been a lot worse. My heart was racing quite badly there because he came back on the track and I made a mistake at the same time. So that could have been contact there, and that could have been the race over. But luckily, fingers crossed, they worked out pretty nicely. As we move on to lap 21 now, I believe everyone's pitted. So that's Leobot, Ellis, I believe Rozak's in 4th place at the moment. So being pretty consistent, within the same 10th of a second for that first sector. And oh god, we actually get on the curb there, but luckily we just keep our composure and manage to keep it on the track, get back on the track quite nicely. So that's what I mean. You can't really afford to relax, because you'll just lose that concentration, and mistakes can just go in there. So you just go at it. And we move on to lap 24 now, and again I'm trying to avoid this curb now because the auto spin, and again look at that, it's just the auto spin curb. So I wasn't really on the curb that much then, because I'm trying to avoid the curb as much as possible, and that just shows how easy it is for 1 minute just being in the lead, and next minute you could be into the wall. So just got to keep that concentration up as much as possible. And I believe lap 25 now, Brozak's in 3rd place, and I believe he's on the option tyres again, so he's just been on option tyres for every pit stop now. And we've got 4 laps to go with a 5-second lead, so our pace over Leobot, who was on the prime as well, our prime pace is pretty good to the other prime runners. And as you can see, Brozak's going to 2nd place. So right now I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable, because I know how fast the options are, and I know how fast Brozak is, because he said this was actually his favourite track. So the gap is 5.8 seconds, so you'd think that would be enough to be quite comfortable towards the end of the race, but I'm not really going to take any chances. I'm going to just try and push as much as possible. And as you can see, as you'll see by the end of this lap, you'll see how much of an advantage that he'll actually gain. And right now I'm just trying to push as well, but just trying to stay off those curves, because the last thing I want is losing half a second or a second by just being on those curves, having that auto spin. And I just need to just focus corner by corner. As I always say, you just got to focus on the corner one at a time, rather than thinking at the end of a race. And as you can see there, he's gained half a second in one sector, and that sector felt pretty nice to me. So you can see how much of an advantage the options do, just the traction and just the raw grip that they have. It's a pretty big advantage. So we've got to push now within the same 10th of a second again. Our consistency has been pretty much the best it's been all this season so far. And again, he's gained another 4 tenths in that last sector, and that last sector felt good. So moving on to lap 27 now, we've got a 33.0 in prime, pretty quick lap, and he's closed the gap to 4 seconds now. So his pace on those options are pretty quick, and all we can do now is just push as hard as we can, with trying not to make mistakes, which is pretty difficult to do. As you can see, I'm going in rich and then back down to standard for the twisty sections of the track. We just got to just keep pushing, because one mistake and he could be right in the back of us. So it just shows the absolute power of the different tyre compounds. I think this track is pretty bad for the difference between the two compounds. As you can see there, he's gained another 3 tenths in that first sector, so he's gaining about 3 tenths a sector. So at this rate he shouldn't catch me, but it's going to be quite close at the end. And you can see from Leobot there, he was also on a prime, just a lap older primes than us. It shows that the pace I've had on the prime this race, or whatever tyre I've been on this race, compared to other people on the same tyre, has been pretty good. So I'm really happy with myself this race, and I didn't think I'd have any chance of winning from starting from the back. But it just shows again, if you just have that mindset and just that belief and confidence in yourself, that you can achieve anything you want to achieve. So just got to have that belief and just pick your moves, commit, and be aggressive, but not fully overly aggressive where it's to the point of being borderline completely unfair. But you just got to have that confidence in yourself, and I thought to myself at the start of this race, I'm going to aim to try and win this race, because if you don't think that, then you're not going to have any chance of actually doing that. And as you can see, our pace is pretty consistent, and we're just basically just holding that gap to Brozak now. So he only gained about 4/10 that lap, so we're keeping it. I think his tyres are starting to slowly go off, as our tyres are starting to go off as well. So he's actually done more laps on the option tyre on this stint than me. So I'm actually doing less laps on the prime tyre, which is meant to be more durable, but I really don't think it is. I think in 100% races it is, but in like 50% and 25%, it doesn't really seem to be that much difference. Maybe an extra 2 laps at most in the prime tyre, but around here it really doesn't seem to be the case, because my tyres definitely seem to be going off a bit. So the gap's staying pretty similar at the moment. I'm still going to use all my fuel, and we just go down onto -1 now. So luckily we did that fuel saving in the first stint where we're behind people, but we just got to keep it together now. 1 lap to go. Gap's looking like he won't be able to challenge us, so it just shows pushing in that first stint and the second stint. If we didn't push and we just relaxed a bit, then the gap could have been a hell of a lot more comfortable than it was. And as you can see, the gap's 3.2 seconds, with 5.3 seconds to Leobot behind Brozak. So gap's still coming down, but we're feeling pretty good for this race. And yeah, I won this race last season by pretty much doing the same thing. Obviously I managed to get the pole last season, but I just think consistency outweighs having the pace. It's all good having that raw speed and race pace, as I believe Brozak does. I think he has the raw pace, especially in qualifying. He's one of the best qualifiers in the game, but you just need that consistency and just that racecraft and just that commitment, really. And as you saw in the first 7 laps of the race, we managed to just pick our spots pretty much perfectly each time. We didn't rush to get past people, but as soon as someone gave us an opportunity, we took it. And if you keep doing that to people, they know that you're going to take those opportunities, and they're not going to really defend as hard as what they would do. So if we hadn't taken those opportunities and we stayed behind people, then that could have cost us a few more seconds. And as you can see, it's 2.9 seconds, and we could have easily been held up 2.9 seconds in that first stint. So it just shows that everything you do adds up and it counts. So this race, for me, a personal performance, I feel this is my best race of the season for me in terms of driving. I've been the most consistent, and I just felt my actual pace was pretty good. Australia pace is pretty good as well, but this pace just seems to be, I didn't really make that many mistakes this race. So Brozak's just still closing slightly, but we've got a 2.8 second lead now, and we're going to make our way to the line, and we've actually won round 3 out of 3. So winner of AOR Bahrain F1 League Season 9, and yeah, pretty good feeling. 3 out of 3. Never thought I'd have that to start of the season, but pretty ecstatic of that. Yeah, moving on to the next race is China, which is one of my strongest tracks, so looking forward to that. It should be a really good race. Credit to Brozak there, he did a really good race as well, from coming from 14th. So yeah, that was a pretty amazing race. Couldn't have really done more myself than that, so really happy with that. Again, as always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, and see you next time. Cheers.